Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast Channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.
Good evening and welcome to a special Select Board meeting on February 9th, 2026. As the hour is 6 o'clock, I'm calling the meeting to order. This is a public meeting / workshop to discuss the open town manager position, allow folks in the public an opportunity to come forward and talk with the Select Board about what they're looking for in a town manager, and also for the board to sort of get the public up to date with where we're at, go over the position itself, our expectations, and the process that we anticipate following moving forward. I'll start by introducing the board. To my right, Selectman Dan Chartrand. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chair.
Our Vice Chair, Selectwoman Molly Cowan. Good evening.
Hi.
To my left, our Clerk, Selectwoman Nancy Belanger. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Selectwoman Julie Gilman. Good evening.
Good evening.
And all the way to the right, our Interim Town Manager, Melissa Roy. Good evening.
Good evening.
And my name's Nico Papakostandis. So today being February 9th, coincidentally, this was also the last day in which resumes were being accepted for the time being. And I believe we do have several resumes that have been submitted that we will be going through. The process will be the executive team of Finance Director Corey Stevens, Interim Town Manager Roy, Vice Chair Cowan, and I will go through the resumes. And we're also going to take input this evening from public. We are also going to distribute a survey to our employees internally to try to understand maybe what they're looking for in a town manager. And then there will be an interview process where there will be multiple interviews of candidates of interest. And there will be a small internal committee that will consist of the four of us, along with the police chief, fire chief, public works director, and town planner, providing that he's back from leave.
Mr. Chair, when you say the four of us, you're referring to
Melissa, Corey, Selectwoman Cowan, and me.
Right. The Select Board can't meet
Correct.
that way. Thank you.
So there are two representatives from the Select Board with the executive team and department heads. That way there's no quorum of the Select Board. However, once that team is ready to submit candidates of interest, ultimately the Select Board is the hiring board. The town manager reports to the Select Board under RSA 37, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. So the board would be meeting in a non-public under the appropriate 91A RSA, and that would be the final determination. So with that, I'm going to turn it over briefly to Interim Town Manager Roy, who's going to go over the job description, go over RSA 37, and also a pamphlet that we put together. As you know, this was posted nationally, and the pamphlet was part of the posting. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, please.
Thank you. So just like any job opening that we have our job description. Our town manager functions as our chief administrative officer, who ultimately reports to the select board, and their job is to carry out the wishes of the board. They oversee the daily personnel. They also function as the tax collector here in Exeter, and that had to do with a town warrant vote, I want to say in 94, 90, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So that is a little bit unusual compared to some other communities. Right now, per discussions, the select board has the authority to say whether they should be a resident or a non-resident. And I think in my understanding is that's going to be open at this point. This is so some of the daily things is daily administrative control over the personnel, hiring and firing within certain qualifications and wage parameters. They are in charge of overseeing the annual budget process. They're in charge of overseeing the financial pieces to the CIP, because the CIP process actually belongs to the planning board. Like I said, is the tax collector, and is looking to meet all the goals of the select board in a strategic and transparent way, as well as being available to all residents. So some of our minimum qualifications would be knowledge and level of competency commonly associated with the completion of a master's degree in public administration, accounting, finance, or a related occupational field, experience sufficient to understand the diverse objectives and functions of the position, usually interpreted to require 5 to 8 years of progressively responsible administrative and supervisory experience, preferably in municipal government. So that, it's a pretty typical job description for a town manager, nothing too crazy. New Hampshire has an RSA 37, which gives the town manager their descriptions of what they can and cannot do. And again, it falls back to the day-to-day operation of the personnel, discipline of the personnel, overseer of purchasing and all of that stuff. So the town of Exeter doesn't have a charter. And so we lean very heavily on RSA 37 as what lands with the select board and what lands with the town manager. That is something I know Russ and I used to talk about all the time, as maybe a charter commission at some point. But right now we do not have one. So we lean on RSA 37.
Which was adopted by the voters at some point in time during town meeting.
Correct.
Correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes. And so for those people not knowing difference between a town administrator and a town manager, the town manager has autonomy to do certain items. A town administrator is just doing what the select board tells them to do. So you will see in different communities, there are different roles. Here in Exeter, we do function with a town manager, so they do have autonomy on certain things. Like you said, we did a national search. We put it out to ICMA, which is the Town and County, City and Town County Managers Association. I always say that wrong. We did New Hampshire Municipal Association, Vermont, Maine, Mass. We did APWA, and I believe one other one, then I'm forgetting what we did. But so we got it out there. We also put together a brochure because we wanted people to know a little bit about Exeter. Exeter's a community that is steeped in history, but also very forward-thinking. It's this really great dichotomy. And so we want to find somebody that can exemplify our history and keep those roots while still moving forward, because I think we have a pretty progressive town compared to some of our other communities. So we're looking, what I would say, for a collaborative, transparent, and forward-thinking leader who values community engagement and professional excellence. Within this packet, and excuse me, the copier machine was really having trouble with the stapler here today. I don't know why it's backwards. I'm not really sure what's going on here, but it tells any incoming applicant a little bit about our community, tells them what our governance and organizational structure is, some institutional and educational partners, talks about our financial overview, what our average annual budget is, the fact that we just got that AA rating through the process that Corey and his department worked through, the fact that we are about 24 to 27% of the tax rate, and then talks about some of the benefits involved with the position if they would like to move forward. So.
Great, thank you. A couple things, if I may add. Folks that follow the select board over the last couple of years particularly know that we brought in a consultant, Bill Keegan, who did what we affectionately call the Keegan Report. And it's been a visionary report, and it's a report that we have embraced, not taking all of the suggestions, but most of them. And I think that we all agreed when we met with Bill that we look at the town manager's role as being visionary. We put together the executive team, which comprised of the town manager, the assistant town manager, the finance director, which sort of changed the organization. This organization has grown in the last 21, 22 years. The town has grown, the responsibilities have grown. And so right now, we're not looking for a manager that would do what a manager here was doing 20 years ago. We have an assistant town manager now. We have an HR director with an HR department. We have a finance director who has brought great reform within the finance department. We have very strong department heads. So we're looking for a leader, somebody who is visionary. And with that, when you look at some of our neighboring communities, Kittery, Maine comes to mind. There's an article in Seacoast Online about a month or two ago. They've had an opening for over a year. And hopefully that's not going to be the case here. However, we are in great shape with the executive team of the interim town manager and the finance director and the department heads who've rolled up their sleeves. So obviously that's not something that we want to keep going for a long time because it's put an extra burden on them. But we really do want to find the right person who will be that visionary leader that will take us to the next step here in Exeter. And to that, I think the board, we haven't talked formally about that, but one thing I'm hoping will be as flexible on the residency requirement if we find the right person. Certainly in the last 5 or 10 years, I think if you look just in New Hampshire, in New England, across the country, any local officials, there's been a significant erosion of boundaries, let's say. So I don't think we need to pigeonhole ourselves to have somebody live here or not live here. I think we need to be flexible and just, if we find the right person, certainly if they want to move here, we would invite that. But I think we need to be flexible in that thinking. So before we open to the public, any thoughts or comments from the board?
I have none.
No, it's all been
Covered.
Yes.
Molly?
I'm eager to hear what folks have to say.
Yes.
Dan?
If someone sees this later, because it'll be available on the website, how can they provide input after the fact?
They can email the select board, and we will take those thoughts and considerations into our internal meetings.
Thank you.
So we'll open up to the public. If you come to the microphone, introduce yourself and.
Jen Harrington for Maryland. I don't know if I need to say that. I have a couple of questions that I can ask. You said applications, resumes closed today. Can you tell us how many you received?
I don't know the answer to that. Melissa, do you know the answer
I
to that?
do. I can tell you, but I have not reviewed them for whether or not they meet the minimum qualifications, but we have
Sure.
received 25.
Okay.
And they have till the end of the day tonight. And again, I have not reviewed them to see if they've met the qualifications, but that's what we've received right now.
Okay. One piece that I'm processing through, just as you were saying it, that I recognized before, I think Molly had shared with me that there would be department heads and a team that was part of the interview process, because I understand all 5 of you can't be on the team. But what I'm hearing is that there'll be 2 of you on the team, but 5 of you making a decision. And so I'm just sort of processing through how that would work with 2 people having full knowledge and conversations and interview questions with the candidates, and then how would that be then shared and relayed and to the board, to the rest of the board, to then make a decision?
So that's a good question, and I wasn't clear. The interview, there'll be multiple interviews. So the first round of interviews would be the committee of which I spoke, which would be the interim town manager, the finance director, Selectwoman Cowan, me, and the department heads that I mentioned. Once we get down to a quote unquote final interview with, if it could be one candidate, it could be multiple candidates, then the entire board will have the final interview, and that will be done in non-public under the appropriate RSA 91A, and it would be like any other personnel matter. And that would be typical to any other hire that comes before the board. So the entire select board will have a full interview process with the candidates that are referred to by that committee. So I didn't make that clear.
Okay.
Could I say one thing? One of the strengths of this board is its unity and cohesion and the trust that we have in each other. And so any information that was gleaned by Nico and Molly, I have full confidence, as I'm sure Selectwoman Belanger and Selectwoman Gilman have, that would be shared with us, even though we weren't in those initial interviews. So there's a lot of teamwork amongst the five of us, and I'm very comfortable with this process that we've put together.
So then my next question is when you get down to a finalist, is there any opportunity for public to watch or be a part of that? I know when we've had finalists for our principal, when we hired a new principal, when it came down to finalists, that those candidates came in and did, a full day. So staff and those that would be working with that person would have the opportunity to get to meet them. Is there going to be any type of, even if it's simply an introduction, that they get 4, 5, 6, whatever minutes you deem to give a public statement prior to your non-public session?
So a little bit different in this regard, in that we're going to put out the employee survey, much like we're having tonight, for the public to weigh in with what they're looking for. We're going to put a survey out to the employees of what they're looking for. With the town manager only has certain direct reports. Okay. So that's the police, fire, public works, finance director, assistant town manager, and planning. So all of those folks that will report to the town manager are actually going to be part of that interview process.
Okay. And so the only other thing that I'd want to say is, I've thought about this since, back whenever Russ, first said that he was leaving. And I recognize that your goal is going to be to hire and attract, the strongest possible candidate that has the experience, the leadership skills, and the integrity for our community. That's first and foremost before anything. However, in addition to that, I personally think a resident requirement is, I think it's something really important to consider. I think it's important that the town manager live within or move to the community that they're going to serve. It's not meant to limit the candidate pool by any means, especially hearing that, Kittery's been looking for somebody for a year. But I think it's important to that they ensure that you guys ensure that whoever is taking this is fully invested in this community, from the day-to-day life of the community, what it's like to live here. I think it would give them better understanding of the local concerns, of the services that the town is providing, if they're experiencing those, understanding the infrastructure as a resident. And I think it's important for them to be readily accessible in some type of emergency. And so while I understand that we might not find that candidate that's currently living in Exeter, I think personally it's a really important. And I think that somebody that was truly invested in coming to be in our community with everything that Melissa has said, the history that we have and the forward thinking that we have, I think for me, that's probably one of the most essential pieces, is that they do eventually become a resident, because I think you can lead better and be better when you're part of the community and understanding how the taxes are working, how the streets are being plowed, all of it, when you live here and you embed yourself within the community. So
great, thank you.
Thank you.
Amanda.
Hello.
Hello.
Amanda Kelly, 24 Prospect Street. This was great. Thank you. I really like, especially the opportunity page. The fourth paragraph is perfect, and I appreciated everything you said. I really enjoyed listening to everything you said, too. Yeah, I don't have as much to say, but I had a couple of, kind of big topics that I would love to see in a new town manager. I'd really like to see somebody who's inspiring, with big ideas. I think somebody who has that vision and is proactive about creating it, and not somebody who's going to feel like being in survival mode, right? Like, what do we want from this community is really important to me. I also think, really importantly, someone with great ideas about communication. I know the communication committee has tried really hard and is putting in a lot of effort, but I do think it is an area we really struggle with. I would love to see a town manager who can build excitement and pride. Our town, there's so much to be proud of. I'm so proud of everything that we do. And somehow I feel like it gets lost to the larger community. And so I just feel like that communication skill of not being on the back foot, but being on the forefoot and creating that excitement and buzz about what's happening, I think would be huge, knowing the struggles that we've have had. And the other thing is, I think it's a really important characteristic to find someone who's fearless about doing what's morally right, and understands that being silent is also a political statement. So I think that there's been opportunities in the past to do small things that could have been really great in our town that I remember hesitation about, and I'm happy to speak about that more off the record. I don't feel like it fits this seat, but I think that fearlessness is really important. And as far as the resident consideration, I didn't have a strong opinion. I do think that a lot of what Jen said is really interesting, and I think that a lot of people probably feel the way she does. It sounds like sort of what I would imagine a lot of people's gut reaction would be. I think, though, interestingly, in the, I don't know if it's a year, excuse me, that we've had Melissa in this role, it's been really fascinating to see someone who's coming from so far away and is so darn dedicated and like is here all the time and like just in love with our town. So I just think that it's an interesting example of how someone can really do well without being a resident, but I do think that a lot of people are going to feel the way Jen feels. So I don't have a strong opinion, but just two thoughts that I had.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any comments from the board or any questions for Jen or Amanda about their comments?
I heard what you said about the resident requirement. For me, that's less important. The most important thing for me is that I want buy-in from a new town manager on the Keegan report. That's a non-negotiable for me. I want someone who gets it, has read it, and gets it, and wants to continue enacting it. So that's the most important thing for me, I think. We've had two town managers previously who have served in the 15 to over 20-year range. And while that was wonderful, that's not a requirement. I'm not looking for someone to serve, a long time here. A 5 to 10 year, I think, would be appropriate after the previous two town managers. I think that way we get the best of someone, but not necessarily I'll just leave it at that. I think we get the best from someone if they're here for that amount of time. If they end up staying longer, obviously, that could be wonderful, but that's not a requirement for me. In the history of the town, we've never had a woman as a town manager, so that's not something we can require, but if that were to happen, that would be wonderful in my mind. So those are some thoughts I have about it. It's really important that the select board get this right. This is our only report. This is a big part of what we are elected to do. I'm very focused on getting this right, finding the right person, and getting them up and running and embedded as part of the executive team that is envisioned in the Keegan report. So those are kind of my thoughts on it, to be very out front and not hold my cards close to my chest. I sure do appreciate that you, Jen, and you, Amanda, showed up for this input session. You kept us from taking a shutout here tonight, so thank you for that. And I guess that's what I have to say, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Oh, yes. I would also just add my great thanks to both of you for coming and sharing your thoughts. I think this is a real opportunity that I am really excited about in terms of visionary leadership. I totally hear you on the residency requirement, Jen, too, and think, it is something that I will consider, going into this selection process. So thank you so much for sharing. And I do think we have an exceptional town, exceptional staff, and exceptional residents who are willing and ready to take the next step. And I'm really, really excited about it.
Thank you.
I really can't add much more other than to, again, thank you both for coming. The residency requirement, again, we'll consider that along with all the other qualifications of each applicant. I was fine with our 2 select board members who are going to do the initial, because we all can't be there, so they'll do the initial interviewing and we'll report back to the entire board on their findings. Perfectly comfortable with that. We do that in other areas as well. Communication, we've been struggling with that for years, and it would be great to have some new, fresh ideas on that. But like Mr. Chartrand, the Keegan report is a priority for me as well. I feel that report has given us a good look into our future. So that will be a priority for me and the applications. And that's about it for me for right now.
Yeah, I want to thank you for being here, and to anyone else out there who's going to respond via email, thank you.
Hopefully more.
The residency thing is something that I'm concerned about too. I can give it away, but it's really, I would rather have somebody be here, just because I've seen how many things we do and how appreciated people and facilities and businesses are when the face of Exeter shows up. But can't make it or break it there. They may have an excellent candidate who just isn't, for whatever reason, able to move here. So I'm open to moving on that. Being the only one here who is here, Russ was only a couple years ahead of me. So I have been through the whole tenure of what a town manager can do for a town to grow.
Excuse me.
And we've started really good, or not just started, but we now have a really good basis for the rest of the places to grow. We were in a kind of scary situation with how money was handled in the town when I first started on the select board, with tax assessing and tax bills going out and coming into the same office. It was a little scary, and assessing and answering to absolutely no one. And there are other things, and we've sorted that out. So all our money is being handled protectedly and efficiently, and I'm very confident in that. Now we just need to build up other departments that were put on the back burner in order to get our house financially in order. And so that's what I'm looking for in the next town managers. How can you help us get these ones into the Keegan report and growing up? So that's what I'm looking to find answers to.
Also, just as an FYI, we've had to look beyond our residency requirements, even for the police and fire. We were very strong on that for a lot of years. So
Public Works, too.
Public Works, too. So just to kind of keep in mind that although I agree with you, it's important, for me, it's not going to be a deal breaker. Thank you.
Thank you. So I just want to thank you both, too, and if I could just take a minute, and the only reason I want to take a minute is because, Amanda, I think you're right. I think a lot of people are going to think that a residency requirement is important, and I agree, Jen, with everything you said. I remember growing up, my dad was the middle school principal. We lived in town. The superintendent lived in town. The mayor lived in town, obviously. And I think that was the standard. And it was good to have those folks that were living in town. The reason that I think I can be flexible is because of the experience that I've had for the last 26 years working with the Mass Municipal Association. And I work with over 300 towns. And the majority of those towns, the town managers do not live in their respective towns that they manage. Some do, and it works, but the norm is that they don't live in the town, and I've seen that work. But I agree with everything that you said, and ideally, somebody would either live here or want to move here. But it's not a deal breaker for me because I've seen it work, and much with the police and the fire and public works. I mean, Steve Cronin is here, for 2-3 days straight during a snowstorm. I think a typical town manager, whether they live in town or not, they're here in this building or around town more than they're in their homes. We've seen with the interim town manager for the last 6 or 7 months. So I think that when you find, and again, it comes back to finding the right person. And when you find that right experienced person, they know that they're going to be spending more time in Exeter, New Hampshire than they are with their family. And so that's that balance. And that's why I'm willing to have that flexibility. And the other reason is what I've seen in my day job and also around in New Hampshire here, serving as a local elected official, is that unlike when we were growing up, there is an erosion of boundaries. And whether a town manager lives in Exeter or doesn't live in Exeter, they deserve that time away when they're away. And sometimes you don't get that when you're in town. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to think that's sort of changed in the last 5 or 10 years. So
yeah,
there's nobody online.
No, and I'll just add, we all know, one of you brought it up about Melissa Roy, and she wouldn't say this, but yes, I've met her here on a Saturday night. I know she comes to town to check roads and things like that. So that's another reason why I would not stay. The town residency would be a requirement for me. I mean, obviously, we wouldn't want them to live an hour or two away,
right.
But yeah, it's the commitment to me is the most important part of this. The commitment to our community is the most important. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
There's nobody online. Jen, Amanda, do you want to add anything before we close? Or?
I'd just like to know where I can find this beloved Keegan report.
It's on our website.
Okay.
It's a good read.
Beloved is a good word.
Yeah, it is.
We do love it.
It's invaluable.
You paid for it.
Yeah.
You paid for it.
Yeah.
It's on the website. So hopefully
Very
everybody
happy with
at town
that
will read
report.
it. Yep. Anything else? Any last thoughts? All right. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We stand adjourned. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast Channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.